I want you to do something right now. Pull up your LinkedIn profile and read your About section like you're a hiring manager seeing it for the first time. I mean, really, as a stranger who has like 15 seconds and a very specific problem they need solved. Does your About section tell that stranger immediately what you do, who you do it for, and why they should keep reading? Or does it read like a polished version of your resume summary, technically accurate, but completely unforgettable? If you didn't know, and I'm sure you do, LinkedIn has over 1 billion users. And for most of those users, the About section is one of the most underutilized piece of real estate on the entire platform. It's the one place where LinkedIn gives you room to actually tell your story, and most people fill it with the same generic language that makes their profile look like everyone else's. For a non-technical professional pivoting into roles such as a business analyst or implementation specialist or even a trainer in the technology consulting space, that using the About section like that is a costly mistake. And you might be saying to yourself, well, Tammy, why? Because the About section is often the first and sometimes the only thing a recruiter, a hiring manager, a potential client reads before they decide whether or not to reach out to you. And what I'm going to do today is giving you a framework for a LinkedIn About section that does what yours probably isn't doing right now. One that aligns you specifically for the tech consulting roles, just a few that I just mentioned, builds immediate credibility and ends with a clear invitation for the right person to take the next step. Now, before we get into the framework, I want to establish something. It is important for you to know that LinkedIn is not your resume, and your About section should not be used for your resume summary. Listen, your resume is a document of record. It lists what you've done, where you did it, how long you were there, and it's organized for an applicant tracking system and a hiring manager who's looking for specific keywords. The LinkedIn About section is completely different. It's a place where you get to have your narrative. It's where you put the human version of your professional story. And its purpose is to make the right person feel as though, like when they're reading it, they have found the exact person who they have been looking for. And the mistake most people make is writing both the same way, meaning that they put in bullet points, they use passive language, they use third person descriptions that feel like they were written about someone else. If I read your About section and I still don't know what you actually do or who you do it for, it's not working. For people in career transitions specifically, again, I'm talking to my non-technical professionals pivoting into technology consulting, the About section actually carries even more weight. Your job title alone does not tell the story of where you're going. So your narrative, your About section has got to do that work. And this is what you get to be excited about this episode. If you did the pivot statement exercise from the Fix Your Story episode, and I'll put the screenshot or I'll put the thumbnail here on the screen, you already have the foundation. Your before, your bridge, and your now. That's the skeleton of your About section. Now, listen, if you have not watched that episode, pause this one, go back and watch that one, and then come back to this spot in this video because in this session, in this episode, this is where we're going to build the rest of it. So now let's jump into the framework. Again, the About section in LinkedIn for those who are pivoting into technology consulting and one of those roles that I listed, and I talk about anywhere between 5 and 9 other roles, the framework has 5 components and each one does a specific thing. Now together, when you put all the 5 sections together, they actually should take the reader from being a stranger to being interested in under 2 minutes. So let's jump right in. Component number 1 of the 5-part LinkedIn framework is the opening. If you didn't know this, LinkedIn shows like the first 2 to 3 lines of your About section before the reader has to click See More. Those lines are your first impression, and they should earn someone clicking See More. Let me give you an example of 2 different openings. I'm going to give you a weak one, and I'm going to give you a strong one. A weak opening sounds like I'm a dedicated professional with over 15 years of experience in human resources and organizational development. Okay. A strong opening sounds like most technology implementations don't fail because of the software. They fail because of the people. That's been my focus for the last 15 years, and it's why I'm moving into technology consulting. Dang, I hope you see the difference. The second one is going to have somebody click See More. That second version has earned the click, and it makes a claim, it creates a little tension, and it signals that the rest of the story, your story, is worth reading. Component number 2, your pivot story. So this is your before, bridge, now from the Fix Your Story episode. Remember, the thumbnail is going to pop up again. Expand it slightly for the LinkedIn context. So 2 to 3 sentences that connect where you've been to where you're going in a way that feels intentional and inevitable. And here the key is being specific. Don't say, I realized my skills were transferable. Who cares? Say what you realize and why. The more specific and honest you can be about your pivot story, the more it is going to resonate with the person reading it. Generic pivot stories sound like every other career changer, and specific ones actually make you sound like a person. Component number 3, your consulting value. This is the clearest, most direct articulation of what you bring to a technology consulting engagement. Meaning, what do you do, for who, and what outcome does that produce? Now, you want to think of this as the expanded version of your positioning headline from last week's episode, the episode entitled The Bio Mistake Every Non-Technical Consultant Makes. The thumbnail popped up somewhere on the screen, and it's really 1 to 2 sentences that make your consulting value undeniable. I want you to also use the language of the consulting industry. Words like stakeholder alignment, user adoption, change readiness, process optimization, go live support. Now, those are all languages and roles that I use specifically for organizational change management. That's the example that I'm going to be using. You want to find the words specifically to the role that you're moving into. So those words might be for a business analyst, but they might be different for a trainer, might be different words that you might use for an implementation specialist. The biggest takeaway is that please do not use the language of your old role. Component number 4, your proof. This is where you're going to list 2 to 3 bullets or a short paragraph that gives the reader evidence, specific projects, outcomes from those projects, platforms that you use, methodologies that you use, learn, and understand. This is where you translate your corporate experience into consulting credibility. And I want to be very clear. You don't need formal consulting engagements to have proof. You just need moments, and I always say this, you need moments where you did consulting work, whether or not that was your title or not. Let a system roll out, use that. Design and deliver training for a new platform, that counts. Manage stakeholder communication during some sort of organizational change you were a part of, that's the proof I want you to add. And the last component number 5, is of course the call to action. Most LinkedIn sections just stop. So they trail off at the end of the last bullet and leave the reader like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Where do I go? A consulting about section ends with a clear invitation. So something like this. If you're navigating a technology implementation and need a change partner who understands both the system and the people, I want to connect with you. Or you can say open to consulting engagements, subcontracting opportunities, and conversation with firms working in ERP and cloud transformations. This is where you're going to tell the right person exactly what to do next. And again, if they're the right person, they're going to do it. So now let me put this whole thing together, the whole framework, using the Sarah example that I used from last week's episode. And I'm going to show you how all 5 components flow together as a complete LinkedIn About section. Here's the opening. Most technology implementations don't fail because of the software. They fail because of the people. That's been my focus for the last decade, and it's exactly why I'm moving into technology consulting. I've spent 10 years in HR leadership managing workforce transitions, system rollouts, and human work that happens when organizations try to change faster than their people are ready to. Along the way, I became the person organizations called when a new system wasn't getting adopted because I understood why people resist change and how to move them through it. That realization is what led me here. I work with organizations implementing ERP and cloud systems who need a change management partner that can close the gap between what the technology does and what the people are willing to do. My focus is stakeholder alignment, training design, and sustainable adoption from kickoff through go live and beyond. Proof. Led the OCM work stream for a Workday implementation across 4 regional offices, over 1,200 employees, on time, go live, 94% training completion rate. Designed and delivered change readiness assessments for 3 enterprise HR system migrations. Built and facilitated stakeholder engagement programs during 2 major organizational restructures. Call to action. Open to consulting engagements, subcontracting opportunities, and conversations with firms working in HR technology transformation. I'd love to connect with you. Now see, that about section, it only takes about 2 minutes to read, and by the end of it, a hiring manager or a consulting firm, a key decision maker, knows exactly who Sarah is, what she's bringing to the table, why she's qualified, and how to engage with her. That's the standard your About section should be held to. It accurately describes your background and makes the right person want to reach out to you. Now, before I send you off to rewrite your About section, let me give you 3 quick wins that will make your entire LinkedIn profile work harder for your consulting pivot without a full profile overhaul. Not now, not right yet. Quick win number 1. Update your headline immediately. I talked about this in one of the last episodes. Your LinkedIn headline is the line that shows under your name, where when somebody searches for keywords that might be in your About section, it's going to pop up. So it's on search results, it's connection requests, comments, wherever you have your footprint on LinkedIn, the thing that people are going to see first is your headline, and most people use it as their current job title. For a pivot, that's the wrong move. Your headline should reflect where you're going, not just where you've been. So something like organizational change management consultant, ERP and cloud implementation, non-technical professional to tech consulting, at least tells the algorithm what to surface you for, and it tells us reading it what you're about in one line. Quick win number 2, please turn off open for work and be specific with what you are seeking in your next role so that recruiters, the right recruiters, find you instead of everyone. So again, turn off open to work. Don't put that on your profile picture. And quick win number 3, post at least once before you apply anywhere. So for example, let me give you something that you could post. Talk about your pivot story in a brief, honest, intentional way, because that is going to do more for your visibility than 50 applications that you have sent cold to someone that you don't even know, or you're doing the search on LinkedIn and submitting your applications that way. It signals to the network that you're actually making a move, and it attracts attention from people who you didn't even know were watching. And it gives you something to point to when someone reaches out to you directly. Now, you don't need to post every day. You just need to post intentionally. So is it possible that you can start off posting at least 2 days a week on a specific day at a specific time? You can even schedule your posts. That's what I've actually done. I've started to schedule my posts 3 days a week to be published anywhere between 8 and 8:30 a.m. Just 3 days a week. And I'm telling you, your pivot story is one of the most powerful first posts that you will ever write. Over the last 3 episodes, we have built your pivot statement, your consulting bio/headline, and now your LinkedIn about section. These parts, those steps are actually a part of the pivot circle transformation, a consulting identity that you can own in any room. You now have the framework for all three. The work is to write it, refine it, and put it in front of people who really need to see it. And when you're ready to go further and you want to actually get into the details of building it with direct support personally from me and a clear 6-month roadmap through all 5 of the deliverables that we do and the transformation that you will receive, the Pivot Circle is where it happens. The link for it is in the description. Now, if you're in a place where you want to explore first, you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what is technology consulting? What are these roles that Tammy is talking about? You would be perfect for the Pivot Lobby. So the Pivot Lobby is my free community where professionals who are serious about making this transition can come connect, ask questions, and stay in the loop on everything that happens inside of my Pivot Pathway ecosystem. And if you're not in the lobby yet, the link to join is in the description. Now, next week, I'm going to be opening up a new chapter. I'm moving into role-specific competency. And I'm going to be starting with the question I get asked more than any other question. How do I choose the right technology consulting role for my specific background? Because there is a process for picking the right role, and I'm going to go a little deeper into that next week. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the little notification bell so you don't miss it, and you really get to share this episode with someone. I say sharing is caring, so share this episode with someone whose LinkedIn is still stuck in 2020 or 2021. I'll see you next week.